What's up, guys? I'm Bob Tompkins with Real Broker and living in South Carolina, and welcome back to the channel. On today's episode of Living in South Carolina, we're going to talk about the reasons you might not want to live here. To be honest, it's really easy to talk about the good things that South Carolina has to offer and kind of gloss over some of those things that people might not like. But we're gonna hit those things straight on today, and we're gonna talk about the things that you might not like about South Carolina. Let's get into it. My first reason you might not wanna live in South Carolina is if you're a big city person. If you're looking for that real good nightlife, that experience of meeting new people every single day, South Carolina is gonna be kind of difficult to find that. So, we talk a lot about South Carolina being a great place for young business people, for older people, people wanting to raise a family or even grow up here. But if you're a young professional looking for a good nightlife, trying to find a real good dating scene, especially if you have an alternative lifestyle, South Carolina doesn't really have a whole lot that fits that bill. We do have Greenville, we do have Charleston. There's also kind of that south side of Charlotte that comes right over into like Rock Hill, that area of South Carolina. But none of those really give the big city vibes. Like if you're trying to get a New York City or a Boston, an LA, an Atlanta, a Miami, Chicago, like you're not gonna find that here. That being said, not having the big cities can be appealing for a lot of people, especially if you're trying to find a place to kind of settle down, raise a family, and not really deal with that same sort of hustle and bustle. But if you're looking for that big city feel, South Carolina is not really gonna check that box. Coming in at number 2 on my list, if you're kind of a dick. Now, I mean that jokingly, but in all seriousness, if you're not a friendly person or you don't like being around people, South Carolina might not be the best place for you. South Carolina is known for its hospitality and for that small town feel. The small towns where everybody knows everybody and everybody calls you friend. Well, that's really the sort of community that you can find across the state of South Carolina. And if you're not going to be a contributor to that hospitality or that friendly environment, you may have a tough time fitting in here. And that's one of the reasons why some Northerners tend to be very skeptical about moving south, is they're like, oh man, do they want Northerners here? The answer is simple. It's not that we don't want Northerners in the South, it's that we don't want dicks. We want friendly people that will contribute to the culture of hospitality that has been built over our storied history here in South Carolina. So if you're a friendly person, come on. If you're not, you might not love it here in South Carolina. Reason number 3 you might not like it here in South Carolina is if you're a winter activity enthusiast. If you're the type of person that loves to go ice skating, loves to go snowboarding or skiing or play ice hockey, South Carolina is not going to offer those sort of things to you. Now, while you can find your ice skating rink or your place to play hockey, those places are few and far between, and you probably have to pay a pretty penny to be a part of those different organizations because it's not cheap to keep a building cool enough and to keep ice down to play hockey or that sort of thing when the temperatures, especially in the summer here, are frequently around 90 degrees and our winters rarely dip below 40. So you're not gonna have an easy time finding those sort of things. Now, if you're a skier or a snowboarder, we do have the Appalachian Mountains. We have Snowshoe Winter Place in the northern part of North Carolina and West Virginia that you can get to relatively quickly, but you're still talking about a 5, maybe even a 6-hour drive to have those sort of things at your fingertips. So if you're a winter sport enthusiast or a winter activity sort of person, South Carolina might not offer the sort of things that you're looking for. Now, my 4th and final reason you may not want to live in South Carolina is a topic that I typically choose not to discuss pretty much ever. It was said when I was a bartender, there were certain things you don't discuss with guests, and that's religion and politics. But I don't feel like I'm shooting you straight if we don't at least discuss the latter as a part of this discussion. In the state of South Carolina, you might not like living here if you have certain political leanings. Now, I'm not saying that with any sort of political bias. I'm saying it from a purely objective point of view. South Carolina, for the last I don't know how many elections, has voted Republican. The vast majority of the state is red, with a few small pockets in Greenville, Charleston, and around Columbia that tend to vote blue. If you're a hard-leaning Democrat, you just want to make sure that you're going to be able to find a community that you can embrace and believe in here in the state. It can be relatively difficult in that political leaning to find people who are like-minded that you will love being around. Now, I don't say that in a divisive way. Like I said, down here, we're friendly. Everybody's everybody's friend. We want to get along. But sometimes it is very comforting to know that the people around you share certain beliefs. So if politics are super, super important to you and you lean heavy in that direction, just know that South Carolina may be a difficult place to find friends who share your viewpoints. But you're by no means unwelcomed here. We just want to make sure that you have that community that makes you feel safe and makes you feel secure. Now, the flip side of that is completely different. If you are a hard-leaning Republican, if you tend to lean to the right, it is not going to be hard to find like-minded individuals in the state of South Carolina. Tons of people will share your beliefs. Tons of people will be your friends. If you're like me and you fall a little bit in the middle to where you have certain leanings on each side, there's plenty of moderates here, but you're probably going to find that many of your friends do lean to the right. Now, I promise that will likely be the only time you hear me talk about politics on this channel, but it is being completely transparent that if you're thinking about moving here and you are on that far left side, at least make sure you have a community of people that you feel comfortable around. Now guys, as I said, my name is Bob Tompkins with Real Broker and living in South Carolina. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and check out some of our other videos on the channel. And we look forward to seeing you next time on Living in South Carolina.